I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself, or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted,
the podcast.
And I'm not Theo, surprisingly.
And I am not Juliet.
And I feel like there should always be something that we say right after that, but there isn't. So we
it's
just have to...
empty space we get to inhabit together as we bridge into the actual show, right? That's kind of the crutch to like, okay, the microphones are on, here we go.
So I'll bridge the gap by saying, what's shaking bacon?
Well, I will tell you that what is shaking bacon over here is we are renting this house and our dog has, I don't want to use the word destroyed because I feel like that has legal complications. So I'll just say has run around the yard a lot, like 5,000 times at 5,000 miles an hour. And so there's a great big, and I mean like 100 square foot bare patches from where he's just like running and digging up earth, right? Now, I'm also going to say, in fairness to me, that the yard was not in great shape when we took the house, right? But there was grass. I can't argue with that. Not everywhere. There were, the side of the house was completely a barren moonscape and still is. So anyway, my whole goal has been, we're going to be moving at some point, and I don't want to get dinged for the yard, right? And also, I like the landlady. She's super great, and I'm not saying she's not a listener. So I've been like decorating the yard with plants and birdhouses and bird baths and statues and with solar powered. Like, it's getting so stupid, grandma out there. Not stupid, grandma. It's getting so stupid. It feels very grandmotherly, right?
Okay.
I've got to stop finding shit that I'm like being like, oh, that's so cute. I got to, because it's cute. It's two tweets turning into like a storybook forest out there. So
cool.
I bought a bunch of plants. We have a raised herb garden, vegetable garden, boxes. And they're pretty like, they're not high tech, but there's a sprinkler system that runs through them. So they stick some plants in there. And then they just get watered because I'm real good about getting something and putting it on a table and making the table look pretty and then walking away from it and never thinking about the pretty table again. And that goes for plants. So I can buy a plant and stick it in the ground and be like, oh, look, it really makes the feeling of it so different. And it looks good. Great. And then buy plant. So I've got squash and tomatoes and basil and thyme and oregano and lavender, and mind you, I have like one of each. I don't have fields of this bullshit. All the stuff I'm naming, and thyme, and I bought a jalapeno pepper plant, right? Yeah. And so cool. And then I like dug it all up and stuck it all out there, and I've got a rabbit with a solar lantern that he's carrying as if turning around, looking behind him as if he's leading a bunch of other rabbits on a great adventure through my vegetable garden. It's so cute. And so that's what I've done. And it is exactly what my grandmother did. And I'm sure it's what her grandmother did. And so I am following a great tradition of grandmothers. There we are. And that's been that. Because if it hasn't been work, I haven't been able to really do it or think about it. I will say, it's a warning to everyone. There's a show called Swarm, which I understood from Karen on My Favorite Murder was really good. And of course, I heard that on their show. She didn't call me and tell me, hey, Theo, hey, listen, Swarm, it's so good. I mean, is it good? The production values are good. The acting's good, right? I did not. It is so violent. It is so scary. I was just like,
What's it about?
Holy moly. It's kind of feeling like it's the Selena murder, right? You know, remember how Selena was murdered by her assistant?
Oh, Selena. Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you? And so it's kind of that, but episode 1, I don't want to give anything away because it's not horror.
Yeah.
But I think it falls into the category of show that you could watch and be like, he's such a baby. So I will say, I could not get to episode 2. Way too much. Wow. Somebody gets attacked with a brick, and I was just like, out, bye, nope, no, thank you. That's bad. And that's that. Oh, and then, oh my God, look at how nothing this is. Also, what's shaking bacon? The fattest piece of bacon's about to get fried. Donald Trump was indicted. We're not even talking about that.
Yay. I wish there was more to the story and that there's more that he was going to be accused of and judged for and thrown in jail and possibly executed. But
there is.
We have to take, what is there?
The indictment has 34 charges in it. We only know of one of them because of the way that New York, the legal system is set up or whatever. I can't pretend to know any more than that.
I don't know anything about it, obviously.
And so
hooray.
And he doesn't know what those charges are until he appears in court, and neither do his attorneys.
Let's keep him in the dark. Let's just throw him in jail and let him rot.
Well, sadly, that is never going to happen. That is one man who will never see the inside of a prison cell, but he may very well see federal charges brought against him. He may very well lose hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, we'll see what happens. But you wouldn't want to be Donald Trump right now.
Maybe he'll be convicted of a felony, and then he won't be able to run for president again.
So, I mean,
I don't think he's going to, but if he does, I don't think he'd win. But even so, it would be nice to have that assurance.
Well, his death or whatever it takes to legally get him to never run again. And I was having this conversation yesterday with my friend Nori, who I had a great time with her yesterday. She took me to this really fantastic place, and I will use the word magical. It was a fucking magical, but I don't want to overset your expectations. That's the wrong expression, but whatever.
You told me it's magical.
I know, and then you're going to get there. You're going to be like, it's not magical.
Why are we at Dunkin' Donuts?
It's nice, but it's not magical. It was fucking magical. It is awesome. This indoor venue. There's an Italian restaurant. You have to stand in line, and it's basically just a shack. You don't even get to eat in it, but supposedly it has the best pasta. And I will say that while we were there, the line went from the ordering stand out into the parking lot, and it never got any lower. Right? There were hundreds of people in line for this. Damn. It's a bar. It's a coffee shop. It's like a little lending library. Nice. There's I was going to say a movie theater. It's not a movie theater. It's a theater. It's a stage production, right? They do live stage productions there, and then outdoors there's a stage, and there was a poetry slam going on. And I say this as somebody who has written poetry and might still sometimes compose a poem in his head. There were 5 people in the audience, and they were also all the poets who got up behind the microphone to speak. So that's the poetry audience. It's only the people that write who go to listen to it. And it was okay poetry.
Sure, it's poetry slam poetry.
It wasn't as good as my poetry, but
Of course not.
And I thought about getting up there and grabbing the microphone out of the hands of that little 8-year-old girl who would not stop talking. Every word does not have to rhyme. But anyway, enough of my criticism. She was very brave to get on the stage unknowingly in front of me, the world's harshest poet critic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Glad you had a good time.
It was great. And I forget where that point was going to. Oh, yeah. And so we were talking about Trump and the indictment, right? And I was like, it's as long as he's gone. I don't care what it takes to get him out. And sure, DeSantis is just as bad, but it's like, he's not stupid.
That's the scary thing.
And it's a scary thing, but Nori and I both agreed that it felt like DeSantis could be influenced and steered, whereas Trump just simply has no concept of shame.
Yeah, that's true.
So, whatever. Okay, what's shaking bacon for you?
Oh, God, nothing. Seriously, nothing. I have done nothing this past week except for work, and very little even of that, to be honest. So as the integration progresses, at least we're at the point in the integration, my company was bought by another company, where all of my projects have either wrapped up or been canceled, and I'm sort of responsible for a number of things on the integration side itself. But my last day is September, so right now at least there's not as much to do as I'm used to doing, so it's kind of frustrating. But the positive side is that at the end there's a severance package for me, so I'm thrilled about that, and I won't complain about anything because I'm grateful for the severance package. And there's really nothing to complain about except that other than work, I haven't been doing anything, and that's my own fault because I haven't been making things for myself to do. But at the same time, I'm not really one to be like, well, I need to do something. What am I going to do? I got to find something to do and then go and do it. I'm more like, I have to wait until the inspiration hits, and the inspiration has not been hitting.
That, you know what? That's it exactly, because I'm in the same boat. It's like, everything's fine. I can go outside, not wear a mask. I don't even think about COVID anymore, right? I tried to book a COVID booster because it was, my last one was 6 months ago, and they were like, oh, no, your last one's good for a year.
Oh, really?
And I was like, are you people trying to get me killed? I thought, Probably. And they were like, nope, it's good for a year.
Wow.
And so it's just like nothing's inspiring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can think of things. I should learn Russian. Right. I could learn Mandarin. I could polish mi español.
Yeah.
Y hablo mejor.
Exactly.
Pero no.
And I was thinking I could go up to Marin today and check out the little town up there called Point Reyes Station. And there's like little shops and a little thrift store that Brent would enjoy, and some restaurants, and then there's a beach you can go to, and I could take the dog. But then if I take the dog, I won't be able to go into the little shops, and et cetera, et cetera. It all just seems like too much trouble. So it's easier just to stay home and watch TikTok, which is bad because then I feel bad that I didn't do anything. So it's a catch-22. But
all of the information that you learned from TikTok. Yeah. We were having a work conversation, and because it was a meeting and it was people at work, and we were talking about work things. And I had 2 different Excel spreadsheets, and it was like, oh God, I have to vertical look up, but I can never figure it out.
Oh, we were just talking about that. Us too. I don't know how to do VLOOKUP, and I don't want to learn, and I should really learn because it would probably be useful. But I'm just like, I'm not motivated to learn how to do VLOOKUP.
And it's only like 4 steps, and it's like step 1, step 2.
Easy.
It is, but the problem is not even the concepts, right? But like what you're looking for is ranges, and the ranges overlap, and then you have to know where the information is, and you have to count columns and all this. So while it's 4 steps, they're all stupid and boring, and I hate them, and it's hard to get it right, and I can't figure it out. And I could spend 20 minutes trying to like piece or YouTube, right? So then it's like, I'll go to YouTube and I'll watch a video, and useless, completely unhelpful, right?
Oh wow!
And so I was venting my frustration at this work meeting, and this girl was like, "Oh, well, you could just go on TikTok and look it right up, and they'll tell you in like a minute." And I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's what I do. It's what I do with all my Excel stuff." And I was like, "Really?" And so she was like, yeah, let me know who you are and I'll follow you, and then I can send you a message. And I was like, okay, great. And so I did. And my TikTok name, of course, is something like Prince Theo the Great. Because I never in my life thought that anybody ever. No, you might be the only person, you and Terry, the only people on TikTok who have my stuff or whatever. Because who else fucking cares, right? And so, so she found me, and then I didn't realize she could see everybody I was following, right? And she was like, oh, I love that person. Oh, I love that person. And I was like, I don't feel like a sense of invasion of privacy, but at the same time, it's like, oh, we're not really going to be this public. Anyway, TikTok for research. A whole.
Did you go and look up VLOOKUP, and did it help?
Found better than vertical lookup, right? It's there. It took me 1 minute to sit down, watch the dancing, singing video about you put in the column and then go to the left, tip, and then X lookup. So vertical lookup holds you to specific columns, right? And you have to say like,
lookup.
This piece of info I want is in this column. Now with X lookup, it's just like, here's a sheet, here's the other sheet, make it happen, boom.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And so I highly recommend, as I have just done to you.
Cool.
TikTok.
Thank you.
So
I've been doing a bunch of budget stuff, and I never learned VLOOKUP, and I never really wanted to, and I never wanted to do budget stuff in my life, but somehow I always end up doing it, and it's at this point I'm working against myself by not knowing how to do these things. It would just make my life easier if I did. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'll watch a TikTok about it now.
Hey, good. I had to see.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. You may thank me after you're like, wow, I did 6 spreadsheets in 5 minutes, and
right, really.
I'm forever. And the mistake you made is by being good at math and letting people know that you can do math.
I'm not good at math. That's why I hate budgets, is because I feel like I get them wrong all the time, and I'm destroying the budget that I'm working on. But so far, so good. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Right.
The problem is not that people think I'm good at math, but they think I'm willing to do it, which is true. I'm willing to do it, but I should never have let anyone know. So.
Mistake number 1 is you're putting out quality work, right? So
don't be willing.
You be willing to do it and do it all wrong and turn it in.
That's the last time you'll ever do it. That's what I should do. I should do it wrong. And then forget VLOOKUP. I'm just going to throw in numbers randomly in the spreadsheet, and then I won't have to worry about it ever again.
All right. Well, now that we've destroyed your company.
Yeah, let's talk about next week. Let's talk about this week's story. So what are we talking about today, Theo? Why don't you give us a little intro?
Speaking of companies, right, we are talking about a drug cartel in Mexico that sort of accidentally kidnapped they on purpose kidnapped 4 people who turned out to be not the people they thought. And then 2 of those
allegedly.
people died. And then the cartel apologized. And we are here to give it an 11, if not a 12 on a scale from 1 to 10, and congratulate the cartel for the brilliant and beautiful work that they have done and how amazing and awesome they are.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that because I'm afraid of the Mexican cartel.
The cartel. I am.
I'm saying that because I like drugs.
I don't know what drugs were even involved, allegedly, what drugs they thought these people were trafficking, but it doesn't matter. It's probably very obvious, probably cocaine or something, and I just don't know enough about Mexican cartels to know what drugs they're into. But the Mexican Gulf Cartel apologized in a handwritten letter in early March after 4 American citizens were shot at, and 2 of whom were killed, in an armed abduction in Mexico. The Gulf Cartel faction involved, called Grupo Escorpión, claimed to have turned over the members who were responsible. I'm not sure who they turned them over to, I guess to Mexican law enforcement. But a senior law enforcement official in the United States told NBC News that U.S. authorities at least believe the apology letter is legitimate. So they do think, at least that one senior law enforcement officials think, that the apology letter really came from the Grupo Escorpión. And along with the letter was provided a photograph of 5 men who were tied up and face down on the pavement. So presumably those are the people responsible for the kidnapping of the 4 Americans who were shot at and kidnapped after they drove into Matamoros, Mexico, which is just south of Brownsville, Texas. And video showed a gunman dragging people into a white pickup truck. 1 woman and 1 man survived. And the group were supposed to be, or initially claimed to be, a group of childhood friends from South Carolina who went to Matamoros so that the woman who could have a tummy tuck at a clinic in the city, and her 3 friends were said to have accompanied her to the appointment, A law enforcement official said that the gunman targeted the group in a case of mistaken identity, but the Reuters news agency has reported that 3 of the 4 Americans had convictions for mainly minor drug-related offenses, but one was charged with manufacturing banned narcotics with the intent to distribute. So, I don't know, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. I don't know if it's true that these people really did have drug-related offenses, and, or maybe it's obvious to everyone but me that they did. I don't know. Well, what do you think?
So I will say that having lived with a drug dealer, my first boyfriend was a drug dealer, very minor, very small drug dealer, right?
Sure.
Sold to friends. That was basically it.
I've also lived with drug dealers.
Oh, you have to tell me. Oh, wow. We're both so dangerous. But you don't, if you're a minor dealer, you don't go to Mexico to get your supply, right?
Oh, no.
I know planet where these guys going into Mexico to we're going to get 6 pounds of marijuana and 5 kilos of cocaine, and we're going to go back. No, They probably actually, went there for the procedure and maybe to score some drugs, but they probably were just thinking small amounts, right? They weren't looking to meet with the cartel. They weren't going to encroach and take over somebody's operation.
The cartel was not targeting them in particular, would be my thought. But I mean, they may have had drug records, but they are not big-time drug dealers who are going down to Mexico to deal with the cartel. That's my feeling. Yeah, I agree.
Right, yeah. And so the cartel thought that they were Haitians and there to, I don't know, to not so much encroach upon their territory, but encroach upon their territory.
Oh, interesting. So, yeah, I didn't know that part. So the State Department issued a do not travel alert for Tamaulipas, I think is the name of the state, noting that organized crimes, including gun battles, murder, and kidnapping, are common along the border and in Ciudad Victoria. Other Mexico border states also have travel warnings. Now, I did not go and look and see if Tijuana, the state that Tijuana is in, what is the state that Tijuana is in? I don't know. If California.
I mean,
probably California del Sur or something. Del Sur? So what's south in Spanish?
Is it Tijuana's? Maybe not. There's no way to know. I mean,
there's no way to know.
It's too secret.
So I don't know if it has a border warning or not, but a lot of people obviously go to Tijuana to get drug treatments, medical treatments. Andrew Rudman, who's director of the Mexico Institute at the Wilson Center, which is a Washington, D.C. based think tank, said, "I wouldn't go so far as to say the Gulf Cartel is the de facto government in this part of Mexico, but they certainly act with impunity, and most of the time what they do doesn't attract much international attention." And Ricardo Ainsley, who's a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, who made the 2007 documentary film Ya Basta, Kidnapped in Mexico, said, "I have never heard of a cartel offering up an apology or turning over suspects. That's just not their MO. I suspect that because of the kidnappings, they're under extreme pressure, and not just from Mexican federal and state authorities. Cartels like the Gulf Cartel have been involved in hundreds and hundreds of assassinations that rarely draw notice outside of Mexico," Ainsley said. "The last thing they want is a lot of this kind of attention. This would not have happened if the kidnapping and killings didn't involve Americans," said Vonda Felbob Brown of the Brookings Institution. "If the victims were Mexican, their bodies would be buried and the survivors would never be seen again. But this gang knows the United States has tremendous deterrent skills, has tremendous investigative abilities, and the will to hunt people down." So the U.S. government appeared unimpressed by the apology letter. National Security spokesperson Adrian Watson said, "These criminal organizations can say whatever they want. The protection of American citizens is the president's first priority. Anyone who is responsible for killing or harming American citizens will face the full weight of the U.S. government, and that includes a cartel and its members."
I mean, What's really striking to me is the statement that the drug cartel is sort of a de facto government, because that is actually what they are. And not surprising that that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Because why do people get involved with drugs? And I don't mean use, I mean sell, right? And it's money, because you make money. And it's sure low-level people, it's because, and I do drugs. And so if I have access to drugs, I can sell drugs and have drugs, and therefore my drugs are free to me, and I can earn money. Awesome. So people get involved in the production of drugs and join cartels, etc., because there are regions in the world where that is your only opportunity to make money. And we'll say, like, sort of in that way, and you see this in the U.S. a lot in cities where there's an area that's controlled by a gang, and as you're growing up in that neighborhood, your option is join that gang, or have a real shitty life, right? And so, once you have this access to money, this job that allows you to have money, you have access to power, and the people above you have access to more power. And what's a great way to continue your operation? It's to get the government and police on your side. And the mafia did this in like, I don't know, from their inception. You become a corporation. You behave like a corporation.
Right.
You look at your bottom line. You look at your distribution systems. You look at what the cost of doing business, right?
Sure.
Is it easier to fight the police or have the police on your side? What does it take to get the police on your side? Money. You pay them off, right? And so...
and you have to do PR. So...
exactly.
Yep.
And
this is part of the apology is part of their PR efforts.
Well,
supposedly.
And I will say, having... we said, let's do the drug cartel. We'll do the apology, right? It's like, that'll be, because wow, what's that about? And the things I learned going through researching Mexican drug cartels, etc. Like, they have logos. There's merchandise you can buy online.
Wow.
That is created and sold by, eventually that money gets to the Zapatas or it gets to the Scorpions, right? And who'd have thunk? But it's because they're structured like corporations. And
the government doesn't do anything about it. They don't prevent the money from the sales of the merch from getting to the gangs.
And then after a while, I imagine after a while, and I'll use like sort of the mafia still here because it's easier for me to wrap my head around like the mafia structure and then maybe a drug cartel structure, although they are the exact same thing. After a certain point, you've got money, you've been killing people, you've been selling drugs, you're not a good guy. Your kid goes to Yale, your kid becomes an attorney, your kid comes back and works for the family. Right. And you're a step closer to legitimacy. And then eventually you can build these bridges where you are legitimate. So, and we can look at the IRA, not that the IRA was selling drugs, but they certainly were planting bombs in a terrorist organization. They're a political party now. So you can work your way towards legitimacy. And that's probably what's happening in Mexico. These drug cartels are behaving like corporations, and that's so they can remain in business, and they'll become quasi-governmental.
Yep. So they've been known to issue letters to intimidate rivals and authorities, and also things like the apology as public relations work, as we mentioned, to try and smooth over situations that could affect their business, as you've been saying. The Americans' killings brought in National Guard troops and an Army Special Forces outfit, so the heat is on for them, and Mexican security analyst David Saucedo said it is very difficult right now for them to continue working in terms of street-level drug sales and transferring drugs to the United States. They are the first ones interested in closing this chapter as soon as possible.
It's bad for business, and it's bad for business on many levels, and we'll say like it's bad for business because I don't know this, but I can imagine that there are some dots I can connect from Mexico to the United States, right? And some of those dots are how the drugs get across the border so easily.
Sure.
Right? It's not because immigrants are carrying them over. right?
Right.
It's because truckloads are coming through.
Someone is ignoring those truckloads.
Someone is ignoring the truckloads or waving them through, right? And so it's not happening because Mexico's so terrible and these people are awful and they're forcing us to take these drugs. It's because somebody's getting paid to turn a blind eye somewhere, right? And fine. And I forget where that point was going to. Oh, right. So, all right, now you hurt some Americans, and now the heat is on. I forget what the expression is the drug cartels use, but it's something like, the plaza's heated up.
Right.
Right. And so the plaza, which is the cartel term for the region that a cartel controls, the plaza is heating up. And so our region is under a microscope. Well, these U.S. crossing guard, to use a term, now they can't turn a blind eye because, oh God, like it's in the news and like politicians are paying attention to what's happening in Mexico. So sorry, no bueno, you can't come through my guardrail anymore for the next couple months.
Yeah. So knowing all of this, would you go to, if you were going to have some sort of medical procedure done, would you go even to Tijuana to have it done?
Well, I will say, as somebody who has traveled to another country to have a medical procedure done, right? And in the middle of that medical procedure was like, why did I travel to another country to do this? Because this is not this is not how that would be done in the U.S., which is why it was so cheap. No, but I also would never go to Mexico for a medical procedure, but I might go to Turkey or I might go to, it's even cheaper in the UK for some things, right?
Is that because you're afraid of the drug cartels or?
I think it's because I have a very 1980s impression of the infrastructure within Mexico. And
I see.
And not racist as much as more, I still hold that idea in my head that like, well, anybody can be a doctor in Mexico. I mean, sure. Are there doctors who have trained in the United States? Yes, absolutely. Right. Is there medical care in Mexico? Yes, absolutely. Right. But would that be the surgeon that I would find? No.
Right. That's why you pay more in the U.S.
Right.
Theoretically.
Then also, you have the opportunity to sue within the U.S., whereas I might not have that same opportunity in Mexico, or it's a bigger deal and it's blah. But the short answer is no, I would not travel to Mexico to have a medical procedure done. But saying that, what's the cost difference?
That's a lot. It's a lot cheaper in Mexico than in the U.S. But then you have to think about why. Why is it so much cheaper? Where are we saving the money? So.
Yep, exactly.
That's the question.
And
I don't know if I would go to Mexico to have a medical procedure done or not. Really, only because I wouldn't go to New Jersey to have a medical procedure done. Only because it's so far away, and it's not. When I go home after my surgery or a couple days after surgery, I want to be able to have my doctor there in case I need follow-up care, and I wouldn't have that with someone in New Jersey or someone in Mexico. But if I were in San Diego, I might go to Mexico for medical care.
I will say, again, as somebody who went to a foreign country to have a medical procedure done, hi, cosmetic surgery, looking at you. And it's come out great. I couldn't be happier, right?
Yeah.
They do text me. I mean, sure, it's over text. Telemedicine. It's telemedicine, right? And they check in with me, and they, send us photos. And if you have any questions at all, just WhatsApp us and let us know. And so that's good. But you're right. There's also the convenience factor of being able to go in somewhere in person. I think I wasn't aware of this. As somebody who has driven his car into Tijuana, parked his car in Tijuana, gotten out and had margaritas in Tijuana, walked around and then drove his car out of Tijuana.
Gotten back in,
never thought of Mexico as a dangerous place. I've always thought, Tijuana's sketchy, but I know it's sketchy. And so I'm not going to go anywhere that's sketchy. Right? I'm going to stay on the main street. I'm going to buy paper mache dolls and then walk around like an American tourist and then leave. I did not realize and I don't want to make this like, oh, Mexico's so dangerous. I did not realize how many and how much of Mexico is under a do not travel to advisory. So,
is it?
Yeah, I am now on the Department of State website of the United States of America. I knew that, oh gosh, I already forget. It's not the district outside of Brownsville, Texas.
Matamoros.
Thank you. That they went to was listed as a Category 4 by the Department of State. And so Category 4 is do not travel to, don't go. You are you in danger if you go, right? You're not on your own, but you're as good as on your own. So do not travel to Colima State, Guerrero State, Michoacan State, Sinaloa State, Tamaulipas State, and Zacatecas State, all of them due to crime and kidnapping.
Wow.
They tell you should reconsider traveling to Baja, which is where Tijuana is.
Wow.
Chihuahua, which is where all those dogs are. Thank you. Durango, Guanajuato, Jalisco.
Jalisco.
I say it. Sonora.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then exercise caution when traveling to, and actually it's exercise increased caution, right? Aguascalientes, Baja California Sur, SUR State, Nuevo Leon, Puebla. I mean, there's
that's a lot of
easily 15 fucking states
Mexico.
Here under increased exercise increased caution. And then exercise normal precautions when traveling to the Yucatan State and Campeche State. Only two do you need to exercise normal caution. Everything else is either do not travel, you better really think about it, or, well, when you go there, pay attention. And it is largely, one, all crime, right? Where they just say the reason not to go there is crime. And then 75% of them also combined with kidnapping.
Yikes. Yeah, my cousin Heather doesn't want to go to Mexico anymore because of the kidnappings, and I think she's a little bit oversensitive. But
not according to the Department of State,
I can see now why she might feel that way.
Does she work at the Department of State?
No.
Did we ever narrow that down? No. Okay. Well, So all of Mexico is under a travel advisory, which is muy malo. And
yikes.
And yikes, right?
I would still go there, though. That's just
I love Mexico. I would still go to Tijuana.
Even though it's exercise caution.
I mean, 99-cent margaritas will get me anywhere.
Yeah. I wonder what the drunk driving laws are like in Tijuana.
I will tell you that it doesn't matter what they are like. What matters is who are you when you're driving.
And how much money do you have?
It says, who are you? And then, and what's the presumed amount of money that you have? Because me in my Toyota Corolla driving around Tijuana, right? It doesn't matter because it would be presumed that I had way more. I might have had $8 in my checking account.
Yeah.
Wouldn't matter.
Right.
Right. Because the presumption would be that I had $10 in my checking account at least.
And you would give that $10 to them.
Of course. I mean, yes, please. Absolutely. And so, I don't want to perpetuate any ideas that like, foreign countries are terrible. But Mexico's got some big travel advisories against it from the Department of State.
Yeah. Okay.
And what do they say about England? Or I don't know. Let's do something fun. What's another country?
Finland?
Okay.
I'm sure there are no travel advisories about Finland.
Let's see. Well, they did try and join NATO.
That's not a point against them, is it?
No, but they'd be under Russian radar now, so to speak. Exercise normal precautions.
There you go.
Yes, you are in danger of cold and drinking too much. No, it doesn't say that.
What about like Moscow? What kind of travel precautions are there for Russia now?
Already, all Americans are being told, get out.
To leave?
Don't be there. Go. Yep. because they just arrested the American journalist for espionage.
That's right, they did.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now, and I'm like, now?
Right.
Last year, like when they invaded Ukraine, that was a great time to leave Russia if
You
you're
would have
American.
thought, you would have thought. But,
Some people.
Shall we talk about the apology?
Oh, well, I mean, what is there to say other than A+, congratulations, you guys did a great job. No, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the apology says, the Gulf Cartel Grupo Escorpiones strongly condemns the events of Friday, March 3rd, in which unfortunately an innocent working mother died and 4 American citizens were kidnapped, of which 2 died. For this reason, we have decided to hand over those involved and directly responsible for the events who at all times acted under their own determination and lack of discipline and against the rules in which the CDG has always operated. The Gulf Cartel said it respects the life, tranquility, and integrity of the innocent. The CDG apologizes to the Society of Matamoros, the relatives of Mrs. Aureli, who is the Mexican woman who was killed, and the affected American individuals and families. In addition, the CDG asks society to remain calm because we are committed to ensure that these errors caused by lack of discipline aren't repeated. The guilty parties will pay, regardless of who they are.
And I will say that when I heard that the cartel had turned over the people who were responsible for the incident, right? Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's something. But then it was pointed out that the people who were turned over may or may not have been the people who were responsible. Right. We're just being told that that's who they are.
Right. They may have been people they just wanted to get rid of.
Exactly. Or people. But then, it is a cartel. Let me rephrase that. Because OPEC is a cartel. Right. For any listener who, like me, didn't know until this morning, is really a collection of organizations that get together to determine the single price for a product and sort of like how an industry will operate. Sorry, I got lost in OPEC. They could just have shot anybody that they wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to get rid of Tommy because he made that mistake with that one supplier last week.
Right.
Or let me rephrase that. You don't have to give Tommy away as the guilty party for this incident. You can just shoot Tommy in the head. And Tommy, you fucked up. So maybe not, but I'll say this is very much a corporate move. Our product, oopsie, killed somebody, or we inadvertently killed somebody. Here we are apologizing for it as the corporation. And so looking at them in that light, it's a 12.
Do you think so?
No.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, I've got to give it a 5. A 5 to the drug cartel. It's a PR move. There's zero sincerity to it. It's self-serving. Understandably why, right? And even a 5 feels a little high.
Yeah.
But it's a 3.
So when we break it down, we look at the expression of regret. Yes, there was an expression of regret. Their explanation of what went wrong was that someone else did it. Their acknowledgement of responsibility did not exist. There was also no declaration of repentance. There was an offer of repair in that they turned over the people who were supposedly responsible, but were they really? We don't know. And there was no request for forgiveness, really. So really, it was as you said, self-serving. They blamed someone else, and they tried to turn over the people who they said were responsible, who may or may not have been. So I would give it a 3. I would give it a 2 even. Okay,
I'll give it a 3 plus 11 because hey guys, no, it's not a great apology.
Plus, it was handwritten, which is weird. I think. Why would you handwrite an apology? How was it delivered? Why wouldn't you email it to somebody?
I don't know how it was delivered, but when and this bit's a little graphic, but when cartels do a display of power and maybe they take some people that they've killed and they hang the bodies from a bridge, right? They will tape a note to one of the bodies. So that's just
you think the note
how
was
they do.
taped to one of the people that were turned over? Or something?
Probably that.
Okay.
That would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do the police know who the cartel members are? Yes, right. Could they have been handed the note over dinner? Yes, but it's still this show of here's how far removed we are from you. We can't hand it to you personally. We put it on the evidence.
I see. All right. Well, that's that. Who's sorry now, Theo, or do you have an apology expected?
So I have an apology expected, and you may have heard about, let's see if I can get to it. So annoying. Are you familiar with the Goat Girl?
No. That sounds like something that I would not want to see on TikTok or YouTube or something.
Well, it could be cute. Well, it is cute. So,
okay.
Jessica Long is a mother, and she has a 9-year-old daughter, and she gave her daughter a pet goat to raise, to then take to the Shasta District Fair in Northern California to sell it. And the goat would be slaughtered and barbecued and eaten, right? Yeah. And this is the thing that 4-H club stuff, right? Where I'll say farmers, but I guess anybody can enter livestock. And the idea is that you're teaching the children about where food comes from, what happens to food, right? And Jessica Long's daughter didn't read the full memo because the goat was her friend. And so when the goat got sold, her daughter was inconsolable.
Oh.
Right? And so Jessica Long kidnapped the goat.
Oh, no.
Right?
Oh, no.
And took the goat home.
Oh, my God.
And wrote a note. This sounds just like the drug cartel. I didn't mean for it to track that closely. To the Shasta County Fair officials saying, listen, my daughter just loves this goat. And so I know that I have really fucked things up for you guys. And I know we sold the goat. So how do we make this right? Okay. And I'm going to remind our listeners, this is a 9-year-old girl and her pet goat that the mother entered into a fair legally and the goat was sold legally, right? Shasta County sent sheriffs on many hours search through Shasta County looking for Jessica Long, her daughter, and the goat. And then when they found them, they took the goat away from the little girl, slaughtered it, and the goat was eaten. And apparently the goat was not that meaty. So, no. And so Jessica Long is now suing Shasta County for use of excessive force. And I am going to say that regardless of how the legal aspect of this all plays out, and I'll also say, unfortunately, Jessica, you probably signed some kind of a contract, and so things may not go in your favor. I know that you wanted to protect your daughter, and I know all of that, and I'm with you. I think steal that goat, move to another state, right? Raise that goat, let it be happy, whatever. It was all bad. The fair should have just simply let you buy them a goat.
Yeah.
Buy them another goat. Problem solved.
Something like that, or give them twice as much money to get the goat back, or whatever. I mean, you don't need that goat,
right? Or just grab some random goat, and they'd be like, "Oh, here it is." They're not going to know. They're not coming for the goat's name was Cedar. They're not coming just for Cedar. They just want the fucking goat, right?
Unless the goat had won some award for being the most amazing goat of all time.
The goatiest goat of goats. You're the goat of goats.
That's right. They might then have wanted Cedar, but I don't know that was the case. So, yeah, that whole thing does deserve an apology.
I mean, talk about a fucking overreaction. And I'm sorry, Shasta County Fair, but I think you probably do owe Jessica Long an apology. I think legally she was wrong. I think morally she was right.
Yeah, you could have worked it out. You didn't have to send the gendarmes after them.
I understood that Les Mis reference there. So brava. Class act all the way. Okay, and what about you? Who's sorry now?
I believe an apology is due. So according to The Guardian, a doctor in Florida who was accused of drugging and raping his patients has been found dead. Now, we can't get an apology from the doctor because he's dead, but we can get an apology from the investigators who could not immediately determine how Eric Salata, the doctor, died when his body was discovered in the woods on Monday. But they said he had a gunshot wound to the head, was lying next to a pistol, and they did not suspect that he had been the victim of a crime. He had also left behind 2 notes. So to me, it seems obvious how he died. If investigators can't figure it out without all that evidence, then they deserve to apologize to me in particular for having to read the story and and imagine this whole scenario. So that's the apology that I want this week.
I mean, regardless, I hadn't heard I had heard something about like a lawyer who killed a dentist or a dentist who killed a lawyer or something. And I thought that was a story. I hadn't heard this at all. And I would say, who cares how he died?
Well, yeah, I mean, that.
Do we know that was he accused of drugging and raping, or
yes.
Do we know that that's what he did?
He was accused and then he went out in the woods and shot himself. So... yeah.
Absolutely. Or somebody shot him, but 6 and 1/2 dozen another. It doesn't matter if he was actually guilty of that, right? And
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm becoming an apologist for a guy who's accused of a rapist. That's not the road I want to walk down.
Horrible. But how dare you? How very dare.
Listen, I have nothing to say after that.
Just listen.
Stop there. That's not what I meant to say. Right. Not going there at all.
Is that what we got this week? I think that's what we got this week.
That is what we got this week. And drug cartels and
number
coats. 600
or number 800 in Kenya or somewhere. I don't know where we are. So thanks, listeners.
We are number 112 in Ghana. So thank you, Ghana.
Apologies, Ghana.
Yes, and I'm very disappointed in the politics in Ghana.
Get yourself together, Ghana.
But I suspect that the people who are listening to us in Ghana either want to kill us or we're their voice of freedom. Yes. Right. Voice of freedom, whatever.
We're the voice of America. Apologies.
We are the voice of apologies. Yes, I think full stop.
VOA.
But then number 836 in the comedy charts in the United States, which is funny. And then
like a rocket to the top.
Number 242 in history in the U.S., which... that
scary
bit makes me nervous, right? I don't like that. We should not be anywhere in a history chart. But there we are, right?
There we are. And thanks everyone for listening to us. We love you. And stay cool, cucumbers.
And don't trip
potato chips.
Stealing your line.
Go ahead.
Yeah, crunch you later. I don't ending on the potato chip thing. It's gross. I have nothing.
All right, see you later.
Bye. Everybody.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.